From co-creating comic relief to his many TV shows and stage productions, Sir Lenny Henry has made an unforgettable impact on British entertainment.
And after almost 45 years in the industry, Sir Lenny has opened up about his extraordinary rise to fame in his new autobiography, Who Am I Again? And here he is now. This took a long time to write.
Yeah, it took it took nearly 60 years to live and 2 years to write. It was very difficult. I wrote it on planes, in my house, in London at the publishers. I spoke it, I wrote it, I banged the computer, I stared at a typewriter till my brain bled, and I just got it all out. And then I had to send it to my family.
Yeah.
My family were very tricky because they weren't used to me being this honest about anything. Because comedy, you make it up, you know. I mean, Mum did hit me when I was a kid, but she never knocked me through 3 brick walls. But it's funny to say that. You know, my mum was like Popeye. She'd hit me like this, babada, 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 babada. But, you know, the actual reality of it, when you read it, it looks quite harsh.
Yes.
So I had to be quite careful about hurting people's feelings. And, you know, you can either wait till everybody dies, or you can write it and go, have a read of this. Even people who I haven't got quite good things to say about. I sent the manuscript and said, is this fair? And nearly everybody said, yes, that's fair.
But I guess also you've got to be at peace with that in your own head in order to be able to write it. So your mindset's got to be in a good place in order to sort of put pen to paper.
I think you've got to be ready to talk about these things. And I got to a point where I just thought, actually, I'm not going to... I've been asked by Faber to write this book, and the editor said, try and be as honest as you can. Try and think about the things that were sad and moving, and also the funny things, because it would have been easy to write a, hey, it's Lenny's comedy roundup. It would have been easy to write one of those. He said, but try and leave some sweat and some blood on the and some tears on the page, and then you'll see that people will be moved by it.
Well, it's because it goes up as far as Tis Was.
Yes, birth to Tis Was.
Yeah, so there's another one, obviously, after that, eventually. But you talk about your mum from Jamaica to England in the 1950s. Jamaica, a massive part of your childhood. You were Jamaican in the house with your mum with her steely
But I was Dudley outside.
Yeah.
And it was like Jamaica in the house. We had a Jamaican front room, which kids weren't allowed to go in. There was a big radiogram that was made from an entire rainforest. I think they built the house round it. It was so heavy, you couldn't... This gram was so big. All the records, none of them in covers, just jammed into the thing. We had all the pictures of Jesus around the house. Christ is the head of this house, the unseen guest at every meal. We had huge meals. So I'd go to my friend's house, who were white, and they would have tea, ham, egg and chips, small portions, and then we'd get to my house, Flintstone-sized portions, meals up to here, and if you wanted to see who was at the table, you had to bore eye holes in the rice. Oh, Greg, it's you, pass me the salt. So we had that. But you also had this weird thing of... my biological father was not the father that raised me.
Yeah. Right.
So I had this double thing going on.
When did you find that out, though? That was
I didn't find out till I was
11.
about 12 or something.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And it was a really weird thing. My mum said, go to Bertie's house. He's your uncle, and you should know him. Go to Bertie's house and help him, and he might give you some pocket money. Now, first of all, I've got enough chores to be getting on with that house. If you've been in a Jamaican house, there's a lot of chores before school, after school, during school. There's chores. And now she wants me to go to this guy's house on a Friday to do more chores. So I'm walking down there like this on a Friday, whistling the theme from Roots. And I get there, and actually, he's all right. He's a decent guy. He's got the trilby. He's got the cheeky little moustache. He likes a drink. He's cool. And it just comes out this one day that he's my birth father. And I was...
What did that do to your head?
Well, it flipped me upside down. It was like being flipped by a cosmic spatula, I say in the book. But it was really weird, and I had to go and have a word with my mum. And it was when she first came to Britain. And like a lot of diaspora, like a lot of immigrants who come to this country, it was almost like she was still married. There were 4 kids in Britain, but when she came here, it was almost like she was starting again. And she met people. She was here for a year on her own. She came on her own. And she got sick when she first came here. She got pneumonia. And she was living in a drafty bedsit in a huge freezing cold house. And she was very, very poorly. And this guy, Bertie, who was a very decent guy, befriended her and showed around Dudley when she was better and helped her to find work and became her friend. And it just developed from there. And I'm the result of the development. And so when my dad, the dad who raised me, arrived, he had some things to say and there were tensions. So I grew up in that kind of household. And how that came out in the comedy was me writing about my dad being grumpy and my mum hitting me and all that kind of stuff. because that's what comedy does. Comedy is lying.
Well,
comedy is lying.
Comedy also saved you from another difficult situation in your life because, you know, you experienced racism, secondary school, you were fighting every day.
There was a period where I was being bullied every day. Because there were television programmes like Love Thy Neighbour,
Oh, God.
Until Death Us Do Part.
Yeah, yeah.
And all the names that you'd expect got bandied about in the playground. And I just remember going to school, and, you know, I was a normal kid, this one particular guy who wanted to call me names and hit me all the time. And it's weird being this big and being bullied, but you can be bullied for being big. And my mum had said, you must integrate, you must mingle with the Dudley people, try and be like them, try not to box them down if you can help it, eat their nasty food, mingle with them, I will all end up in jail. So I just thought, I've got to not cause trouble. And this guy hit me every day until I had this moment where I said something like, you must really fancy me because you want to roll around on the ground with me and hug me. And why don't you just take me for dinner and a movie first? And what was amazing was all the kids who used to go, fight, 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 up until that point, started to laugh at stuff that I was saying. And this guy eventually just stopped hitting me. And the next day he did it again, but it slowly diminished because
so many
my
people
friends,
have said that. If you make them laugh, then that's how you manage to put the bubble around
Well,
yourself.
it means humour can be a shield as well as a jabbing thing.
Yeah.
What is that, a sword?
Sword.
Yeah.
Come on, you've done Shakespeare.
Yeah, by the way, when you said the lodger, I nearly lost my mind.
Oh, what,
there.
the phone-in?
Maybe the lodger isn't a lodger.
Yeah.
I nearly
think
lost
how
my
do you
mind.
know?
I think definitely.
But so talking about these things which I've never talked about before on television, you know, and I went through a period of depression when I was in the Black White Minstrels, as you would. When you talk about that stuff, people go, well, we didn't, you know, I talked to Don McLean about it, Crackerjack. And he said, I didn't know you were feeling that because you were this young kid and you looked like you were having a great time. There were all these dancing girls, you were having a great time. I just thought you were being a kid. And I thought, I was the only black kid within a 40-mile radius of that theatre in a show where people were blacked up going, on the Mississippi, you know, and it was a weird time.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're 17 and you're wearing Oxford bags and big ties that you could land a 747 on with a semi-afro and spots here, if you join them up, they say virgin. When you're that guy, it's really weird to be in a minstrel show.
Yeah.
And so when I got out of it and went into the Crankies on tour in Glasgow, strangely, that was like a huge release. Mum, I did it again!
The full story is in here. There's so much we could talk about.
I know,
which
so
unfortunately
many
we've run out of time.
Have we run out of time already?
I know.
You guys.
Can't believe it.
Look at Jamie. You all right, Jamie?
Love you, Lenny.
What's going on, man?
What a legend.
You all right? What are you going to cook next?
We're going to do a little bit of mushroom stroganoff. You
Nice.
hungry?
Yeah, man.
You have to get
10-minute dish. Comfort.
Sounds good to me. Lenny, thank you very much indeed.
much.
Who Am I Again is Lenny's
What
book.
a bargain. Very good for Christmas. I would get it now, everybody. Who am I again? It is my book.